Millionaire stunned watching homeless mother hug her child, then takes shocking action. The streets of downtown Chicago thrummed with life on that cold autumn afternoon. Glass skyscrapers towered, catching the last orange rays of the sun and scattering them like splinters over the crowd. People shoved past, faces buried in scarves and jackets, rushing somewhere, anywhere but here. But Marcus Caldwell? He moved through it all, like a ghost, detached, sharp-eyed, wrapped in his own world of luxury and power. A self-made millionaire, known for his cool demeanor and laser focus. Nothing fazed him. Until he saw her. Under a crumbling stone archway, where the city's roar dulled into a soft murmur, a woman sat in ragged layers, clutching a small boy. Elena, her name whispered by a few around, though Marcus hadn't known it yet. Her clothes hung in tatters, dirt smudged across her face, but her arms wrapped around that child, his hands clenched in his pockets. A strange weight settled deep inside, tightening with every second he watched how the mother shivered and squeezed tighter, desperate to shield her son. The city didn't soften, didn't slow for her. The archway's stone was cracked, stained with years of grime and forgotten sorrows. Behind them, skyscrapers gleamed, cold and indifferent. But there, in that ragtag cocoon, something raw and real beat fiercely. Suddenly, a shout broke the quiet, a nearby commotion. A man yelling at a passing car, a fight on the corner, a woman screaming for help. The crowd's attention snapped away. Murmurs rose like a fluttering storm, people twisting, pointing, pulling out phones. But Marcus stayed rooted, eyes locked on Elena and the boy. A flicker of something new ignited inside him, something dangerous, a pulse of doubt, a flash of pain. What if this could be different? What if he could do more than just watch? The crispy leaves underfoot crunched sharply. No one expected it. Not Marcus. Not the bustling streets of Chicago. Not the cold air that nipped at exposed skin. What pushed him forward? A question without an answer. An impulse that screamed louder than his reason. His steps moved before his mind caught up, drawing him closer to the woman who had no idea his world existed, who only knew the hot, desperate need to protect her boy. The crowd buzzed past, shocked eyes following the millionaire who, against all odds, was crossing a line no one saw coming. His mind raced. What did this mean? What would happen now? Could he undo the numbness inside? Could a man built on steel and numbers reach out to a broken stranger on the city's cold edge? Marcus paused at the crossroads, literal and figurative, where his life's path fractured, waiting for the first choice that might change everything. What happens next? No one knows yet. But whatever comes, the city holds its breath. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Marcus stood frozen at the corner, where the city seemed to twist around him, the noise of traffic and chatter dimming in his ears. Elena's shaky embrace pulled tighter around her son. Her eyes squeezed shut against the chill, and for a flicker of a second, Marcus almost felt like he could break through the wall he'd built around himself. Almost. Then the cue. She wasn't holding the boy anymore. Her arms were out, pressed flat against her chest. Blood bloomed dark and hot, soaking into her ragged coat. Her face twisted in pain, but she was fighting it hard. The child's small hands curled, reaching out blindly, eyes wide with terror. No one saw it at first, just the chaos around them. But Marcus saw. The shooter was close, too close. A man standing by a trash bin, half hidden. His face was buried under a hoodie, but his eyes gleamed cruelly beneath the folds. Another shot cracked out before anyone could react. This time it hit Elena's leg, and she crumpled, gasping, finally dropping the boy, who fell to the pavement with a dull thud. "Get down! Get down!" someone yelled. Feet pounded like thunder. The crowd erupted into panic. Phones whipped out. Hands grabbed kids. But Marcus was already moving, lungs screaming for air, legs burning as he crossed the distance faster than he ever had. He knelt beside the boy. The child's face was streaked with dirt and tears, but alive, still breathing. Marcus reached out, wrapping shaky arms around him. Hey, little man," he whispered, voice breaking. "It's okay. Stay with me." Behind him, chaos continued, but Marcus barely noticed. His eyes caught Elena's pale, bloodied face just meters away, her lungs ragged, her hand twitching weakly toward the child. And then, as if the city held its breath again, Marcus saw something no one else saw. The boy's eyes flickering open wide, not with fear, but with recognition. A flash of pure shock slammed into Marcus's chest, because that boy was his son. The light in the kid's eyes wasn't confusion. It was a spark that hit Marcus like an avalanche. A look he recognized. The same deep brown as his own. The same stubborn flare he'd seen in the mirror every day growing up. Elena looked up, through the haze of pain and blood, and their eyes met. Her gaze was haunted, but fierce. "Why now?" she whispered, voice cracked. "After all these years, why here?" Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him, everything unraveling in a single heartbeat. All the walls he'd built, all the bridges he'd wanted to burn, collapsed into dust. Because the woman he thought was a stranger, the homeless mother wrapped in tatters, fighting for survival, was a ghost from his past. An old secret he had buried deep. One he never thought would reach out and slap him cold in the face on a crowded street. The crowd was still running, shouting, but Marcus stayed frozen. His son lay in his arms, trembling, and Elena, She was more than just a woman down on her luck. She was the mother he abandoned. And the city just turned into a trap. What now? How much was hidden behind those desperate eyes? What had happened in the dark that neither of them dared speak about? And who wanted her silenced? Right here, right now. Marcus swallowed hard, heart pounding so loud he thought it might burst. He didn't know the answers, but one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. Marcus's chest heaved as he held the boy closer, feeling the tiny body shiver against his coat. Elena's eyes locked on his, haunted, raw, full of a dark weight neither of them dared name aloud. The city buzzed wildly around them, but time had slammed into silence at their spot on the cracked pavement. Then, without warning, Elena gasped sharply. Her face twisted in pain, not from the bullets, but something deeper, twisting inside her like fire. She blinked hard, hands trembling. "Marcus," she whispered, voice thin and broken. He stared, breath hitching, waiting to explain the years lost, to say it was all a mistake. But instead, her lips pressed tighter. Then, suddenly, with a strength that shocked him, Elena reached into the inside pocket of her tattered coat. Slowly, deliberately, she pulled out a small, battered envelope. The edges were worn, the paper creased as if it had been folded and unfolded 100 times. Marcus blinked. His heart stopped again. Elena handed the envelope to him. "You need to see this," she said, quietly, voice cracked but firm. He hesitated, his fingers trembling as he peeled open the seal. Inside, a stack of photos slipped into view. Faces cloaked in shadows, strange numbers scribbled in the margins. One photograph caught his eye immediately. A clear picture of a man standing with a cold smile. The man didn't just look familiar. He looked exactly like Marcus. Only the face wasn't his. It was a man who could be his twin. Then a folded note fell out. Marcus caught it mid-air, unfolding the crumpled paper with shaking hands. "I'm not who you think I am," it read, in a handwriting almost too neat, too precise. "And this boy isn't yours, Marcus." The words slammed into his gut like a punch. He looked up, disbelief roiling his wide eyes. Elena's jaw clenched. "The truth. It's always been hidden. Not just from you. From both of us." Before he could speak, the distant wail of sirens cut through the thick night air. A fleet of black SUVs turned the corner, lights flashing like warning stars. Men in dark suits poured out, faces grim and unreadable. "Stay back," a voice barked. Uniformed officers quickly surrounded Marcus and Elena, forcing the crowd to scatter. Marcus tried to shield the boy, but hands grabbed at him, firm, unyielding. Elena struggled, her bloodied leg trembling under her as she yelled, "Don't take him! He's not theirs!" "Who?" Marcus demanded, voice sharp and cracked. A tall agent stepped forward, sliding a badge under Marcus's nose. "Marcus Bennett? You've been under investigation for identity fraud, embezzlement, and connection to an underground adoption ring. This is evidence, and this boy is a key witness." Marcus reeled. The city spun faster. Voices blurred. The mother he wanted to save was now shouting against a tide of accusation. "No," he whispered. "This can't be." Elena's eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but something darker. Resignation. Maybe even guilt. Then she said it, low and broken. "He was never my son. He's the child we took. Stolen. I was told to keep him safe. But they want him back." Shock hit like ice water. The boy in Marcus's arms wasn't his son. Not really. He looked down at the trembling child, his fingers curled tight, the same stubborn spark alive in those deep brown eyes. But now, everything had flipped. His life, his past, the story he thought he knew. It was a lie tangled in shadows. And the real danger? It wasn't the shooter. It was what they were about to uncover. Marcus swallowed hard, heart pounding louder than ever. "Who are they?" he asked Elena, voice shaking. She didn't answer, because at that moment, a phone in one of the agent's pockets started buzzing, a message flashing bright. And when the lead agent read it, his face drained of color. "They know you're here," he said, "and they're coming." The city felt colder now, more dangerous. Marcus glanced at Elena, at the boy in his arms, and understood, with sudden clarity, nothing and no one was safe anymore. Marcus's heart hammered in his chest as he stared at the lead agent's pale face. "They know you're here," the man said, voice tight, "and they're coming." Around them, the city noises dimmed, heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Marcus looked down at the boy in his arms, small fingers curled around his coat, eyes wide but steady. Elena's gaze never left him, fierce, haunted, almost pleading. Then, without warning, the ground shook. A deafening blast ripped through the street. Glass shattered like rain, raining down in glittering shards. Screams burst through the chaos, pushing past the stunned silence. The black SUVs rocked violently, tires screeching as they skidded sideways. Somewhere close, too close. Someone shouted, but the words were swallowed in the roar. Marcus's ears rang. His body hit the pavement hard. Breath knocked from his lungs. Dirt and dust filled the air, burning his throat. His arms squeezed tighter around the boy, desperate to shield him. When the dust finally settled, Marcus's eyes struggled to focus. The crowd lay scattered in stunned silence. The SUVs were crumpled, twisted metal hissing steam. Officers and agents lay moaning, hurt, some motionless. But when he blinked fully, Marcus saw something that stopped his heart again. Elena wasn't on the ground. She was standing, regal, unscarred, brushing dirt off the coat she'd worn like a shroud. Eyes sharp, clear. The blood, the pain, the bullets, gone. She took a slow step forward, calm as a storm. Marcus's hands trembled, still curled close around the boy. "Marcus," Elena said, voice steady and cold. But it wasn't the Elena he'd known. It was someone else. Something else. Her smile was small, cruel. A twist of lips that didn't belong with the pain before. "Could you really think I was helpless?" she said, eyes gleaming. Before Marcus could react, she reached into her pocket and from the folds of her coat pulled a small device. A flash of blue light sparked. The boy stiffened, eyes wide. Marcus lunged to pull the kid back, but Elena's hand shot out, catching his wrist with unnatural strength. Her eyes locked on his, burning with a truth too hard to bear. "I made sure you never found out because I needed you to draw them out." Her words hit like a slap. His body froze. "What? Why? Elena, wait, this isn't real." She stepped closer, voice low but fierce. "That boy," she said, "he's a perfect copy. A test subject. Genetically engineered. Not a kid, not alive. He was designed to control you." Marcus stared at the child, and suddenly the trembling wasn't fear. It was mechanical. The boy's eyes flicked again, this time glowing faintly. Marcus's throat tightened. "Look at him," Elena breathed. "You were never here to save a child. You were here to be used." A roar shattered the moment, the crowd's murmur rising into panic. Behind Elena, more black SUVs screeched to a halt. Figures poured out, men in suits, but different, each with a strange shimmer, like their shadows didn't quite match their forms. A voice crackled over a speaker. "Contain the subject. Eliminate witnesses." Marcus's mind spun. Every step of the last hour was a lie. His son? A fake. Elena? Puppet master or prisoner? His past? A trap. His future? Unknown and dark. Marcus's hands shook so hard he nearly dropped the boy, who now lay perfectly still, almost too still. He wanted to scream, to run, but the city's harsh light fell on his face, exposing every crack in his world. Elena tilted her head, cold and knowing. "Welcome to the real game, Marcus, and you just lost." The sirens faded into distant howls. The street grew colder, and the question burned in Marcus's mind, sharp and terrible. If his whole life was a lie, then what was he fighting for? And who was he even fighting against? The boy in his arms gave a soft, mechanical beep. Nothing would ever be the same again. Marcus's hands trembled, barely holding on to the boy, as the faint, mechanical beep cut through the thick air. Elena stood just a few feet away. Wait, cold smile, still playing on her lips. The crowd around them was frozen, some backing away, others staring in disbelief. The skyscrapers cast long shadows, swallowing the street in darkness, that felt heavier than night. And then, from the chaos, a soft, strangled sound, a cry, shot through the broken silence. Marcus's head jerked up. The boy wasn't silent anymore. Only it wasn't a child's cry. It was something else. A voice, low and grating. Wrong. The boy's eyes snapped open. No longer gentle brown, but icy, glowing blue beneath skin that suddenly pulsed with faint wires visible beneath the rough dirt and shadows. The breath Marcus held caught in his throat. "Hello, Marcus," the voice came. Not from a child, but an adult's, distorted, shaped in a ridiculous digital way. Marcus blinked, frozen. The trembling figure in his arms shifted. The coat slipped, revealing a face. No, not a tiny child's, but a man's. A man. Cold, smooth, made of flawless synthetic skin. And those eyes, the same deep brown Marcus had thought were his son's, flared with something cruel, almost mocking. "Did you really think this was about a kid?" the figure said, voice now fully human, sharp, ruthless. "How naive!" The crowd gasped. Elena's smile twisted wider. Marcus stumbled back, heart hammering, breath caught in panic and horror. "No," he breathed. This isn't real. You're lying." The man in the boy's body tilted his head, amused. "Lies are the only thing you ever believed in, Marcus." Suddenly, Elena stepped forward, hand raised. But before she could speak, the man's real voice cracked, shifting violently. In a flash, the boy raised glowing fingers. Then something snapped inside Marcus's mind. A burst of static. A sharp pain slicing through his temples. His knees buckled. He hit the ground, hard, hands shaking, vision blurring. And then he heard it. Not from the crowd. From inside his own head. A voice. Clear. Cold. Impossible. Marcus Bennett. Identification confirmed. Subject ready for upload. Confused gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus's eyes darted back to the boy man. The creature's smile was gone now, replaced by a blank stare. Then, with agonizing clarity, Marcus understood. He wasn't holding a child. He wasn't holding a person. He was holding a projection. A hologram. The entire scene melted. Around him, around Elena, around everything he thought was real. The city street twisted, the buildings flickering, the crowd pulsing in and out of focus. The sharp, cold air disappeared, replaced by a sterile white room he had never seen before. Marcus's breath hitched. He was sitting. No. Lying down, restrained by straps he hadn't noticed before. Buttons beeped and screens flickered. Beside him, Elena, her ragged coat a lab coat now, pristine and white, stood watching. "Welcome back, Marcus," she said softly. No pain in her voice this time. No pain in her eyes. Just cold calculation. Marcus's chest tightened as he tried to move, tried to scream. What is this? Where?" His voice broke. Elena sighed, the tired sound of someone repeating a lesson long learned. This was never Chicago, Not really. She gestured to the room, now humming with machines and wires. This is the simulation, the test. You're one of thousands they run. Human minds trapped inside copies. False lives designed to break you, to turn you into what they need. Marcus's head spun. His hands shook violently against the restraints. "The boy," he whispered. "The boy was a test too. For me." Elena nodded slowly. "A trigger, a key. And you needed to fail so they could build you back, better, stronger." The memories crashed through Marcus's mind. The streets, the gunshots, the chase, the pain, the hope, the lies. All lies. He was still trapped. And that boy, the boy he thought was his son, was never real. Never alive. Just a tool. A mask for a cage. The silence in the room pressed down hard. Then Elena leaned in, voice barely audible. "The question is, Marcus, how much of you is left inside this illusion? And how much have they already taken?" Marcus's world spun again. Behind the glass of the observation window, shadowed figures whispered, watching, waiting. The city had never been real. Or maybe it was only the beginning. And somewhere, deep inside that sterile white prison, Marcus knew none of this was over. Marcus lay strapped to the cold, hard table, chest rising and falling unevenly. His mind was screaming. This wasn't reality. It had to be a nightmare, or worse, a trick made to break him. But his wrists throbbed where the restraints bit into his skin. His throat burned from dry air and panic. He swallowed hard, eyes flicking around the sterile room. Machines blinked coldly. Screens murmured numbers. Elena stood beside him, her white coat now flawless, eyes sharp, unreadable. "How much of you is left?" she'd asked, voice quiet but sharp like glass. Marcus wanted to scream at her, to shove her away, but no sound came out. Then, out of nowhere, the door slid open. Suddenly, a rush of cold air blasted into the room. Headlights flooded in from the hall outside. Footsteps pounded close, urgent. Heavy boots. A man appeared in the frame. Tall, wide-shouldered, face hidden beneath shadows. But the eyes, bright, alive, pierced through Marcus like a bullet. "Elena," the man said. His voice was brittle, tight, but holding back something fierce. She froze. For the first time, the mask cracked. "He shouldn't have woken up yet," she hissed. The man took a single step forward, then everything shifted. The walls around them shimmered and twisted, like ripples dancing over water. The machines melted away. The sterile light faded. Marcus's breath caught. The room dissolved. And suddenly, they were somewhere else. A city street. Not Chicago. Not a simulation. But rain-slicked pavement, glowing under neon signs. People bustled around, but the city felt hollow, empty. Distant sirens howled, footsteps echoed, but faces blurred, smoky, like ghosts. Marcus glanced down, and the restraints were gone. He was free. Elena stood beside him, but different. No lab coat, no cold smile. Instead, tears welled up in her eyes. "Marcus," she breathed, shaky. But then the man, the one who'd entered, stepped fully into the light. And Marcus gasped, because it wasn't a stranger. It was him. Another him. Older, wiser, hardened. A version of Marcus. Same sharp eyes, same clenched jaw, but with scars that told stories Marcus couldn't remember. "I'm you," the man said quietly. "From the future." Marcus's heart slammed so hard, he thought it might burst. Future him? It made no sense. No one had said time travel was real. It was impossible. But the man just kept staring, steady and cold. "We don't have much time," he said. "Elena's a part of this, but not who you think. She's been protecting you." Marcus's mind spun. "Protecting me?" Elena shook her head quickly, words tumbling out. "They trapped you in the simulation to erase you. But she pointed at future Marcus. "He's here to get you out, to save you." "No," Marcus whispered, trembling. "Listen." Future Marcus stepped closer, voice rough but urgent. "The boy you held, not a test, not a tool. He's what they want to use to control all of us. That fake child is the blueprint for a weapon, one tied to your mind." Marcus's chest tightened. "We're caught in a war," future Marcus said. "A war fought not with guns, but with our memories, our fears, our very identities." Elena looked away, biting her lip hard. She whispered, "Every choice you made was manipulated. But the real enemy, it's inside us." Marcus's vision blurred. He shook his head. Then the impossible happened. Suddenly, the boy, no, the hologram, appeared between them. But this time he spoke, not with hollow words, not with a cold, digital voice, but with Marcus's own voice, clear, human. "I'm not a weapon," he said, voice cracking. "I'm your future, Marcus. The part of you burned away. The son you never knew you had to become." The floor beneath Marcus seemed to fall away. "Wait," Marcus gasped. "You're me?" The boy nodded slowly. "Fragmented parts of the same soul, torn apart. I'm the future you feared, and the past you abandoned." Elena's eyes widened, tears spilling freely now. And then everything shattered. Because the pages of Marcus's life, his memories, secrets, lies weren't just illusions or simulations. They were pieces of a broken timeline. A timeline he still held in his hands. But now, the question burned hotter than ever. If the boy was him, then what the hell had he been fighting all along? And why did he want to keep Marcus trapped forever? The city, the simulation, the lies, all faded into whispers. But the storm inside Marcus only just began. What would he do when the future fought back? When he looked in the mirror and saw not one, but many faces staring back. The answer was out there, but for Marcus, not yet, not now. Marcus's breath caught in his throat as the boy, no, the hologram, spoke with his own voice. The air felt thick, heavy, like every second was a slow drum pounding inside his chest. Elena's tears gleamed under the pale light, breaking the cold mask for a moment. The fractured pieces of his soul, tangled and torn, they were staring him down. Then the scene shifted. A sudden flash, bright, white, like lightning slashing through storm clouds. Marcus blinked hard, heart racing. The city, the simulation, the broken timeline, they all melted away at once. He wasn't in any room anymore. He was somewhere else, somewhere darker. A low hum vibrated through the empty air. Pale figures flickered at the edges of his vision. Ghosts in a warehouse-sized space. Rows of pods lined the walls, each one glowing with a faint blue light. And then Marcus noticed the pod closest to him. His own name flickered on its side. Another Marcus. He shook his head, confused, breath trembling. But before he could step back, the pod beside it hissed open, and from inside stepped Elena. But not the Elena he'd just seen. This one was younger, softer, clothes clean, eyes clear. She looked around, wide-eyed, frightened. "Marcus?" she whispered. His heart slammed. "Who?" She blinked, reaching out, a hand trembling as if she recognized something too painful to say. "I don't remember. What is this place?" Marcus stammered, voice barely a whisper. Suddenly, a sharp, metallic voice echoed from the shadows. "Subjects waking. Estimation. Instability critical." Marcus's head jerked toward a dark corner where a tall, shadowed figure stepped forward. The figure peeled back its hood, and Marcus froze. It wasn't just any stranger. It was him, but older and broken. His own face, but twisted with anger, pain, and something dangerously cold. "Welcome back," the man said, voice low and bitter. "Or should I say, welcome all back." Suddenly, more pods hissed open. Inside were faces Marcus recognized. Versions of himself, versions of Elena. Different ages, different scars, different fears. They spilled into the room like a flood, shaken, angry, lost. "What is this?" Marcus gasped, heart pounding so fast it hurt. The older version of himself smiled, a cruel twist, empty eyes locked on Marcus. "This isn't just a simulation," he said. "It's a prison, a vault of our shattered timelines. Each pod houses a version of who we could have been, who we should have been." Elena stepped forward, younger and scared. "They've been trapping us, all of us, here," she said, voice cracking. Marcus felt a chill freeze his blood. "We're not the originals," the older Marcus said. "None of us. Just copies, echoes, fragments. The real Marcus Bennett, he's been gone for years." A sharp gasp echoed through the room, his heart twisting tighter. Then, as if the walls themselves were listening, a sudden mechanical whisper slid through the air. System override initiated. The pods flashed, buzzing violently. Lights flickered. The sounds of metal grinding filled the vast space. Marcus looked down, his heart pounding, at his own hands. They began to glitch. His skin flickered, revealing wires beneath. A voice inside his head shattered everything. You are the copy, the artifact, the failed experiment. Elena's face twisted in horror. No, we're real, she cried out. We feel. Feelings are errors, the voice cut sharply. Purpose is control. The older Marcus stepped closer, eyes blazing. But here's the truth. The original Marcus Bennett, the one who built this, was never fighting for his own life. He paused, voice lowering. He was fighting for control over this entire collection, over every version of himself. Elena's knees buckled. Marcus's chest felt crushed, like an iron vice, tightening with every word. You're all prisoners, puppets in an endless loop. This city, the boy, the lies, they're parts of a system designed to erase us and replace us with someone else. The room plunged into silence, heavy, suffocating. Then Elena looked up, voice barely a whisper. Marcus, what if we aren't the heroes? What if all this is just their game, and we're the pieces they move? Marcus blinked. His mind tore apart. Then a sudden, piercing alarm shattered the silence. Red lights flooded the room. The pods locked down. The chilling voice crackled again. Final protocol activated. Reset imminent. And Marcus understood. They weren't breaking free. They were about to be erased. Not just the boy, the city, or the lies, but every last version of Marcus Bennett. Every possible future. Every lost past, wiped clean. The question burned louder than ever. Which Marcus will survive? And who gets to decide who that is? The cold laughter of the system echoed, and nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever be the same again. The alarm blared louder. Red lights bathed the room in harsh pulses that throbbed like a heartbeat. The pods locked tight with sharp, metallic clangs that echoed off cold walls. Marcus's hands started to glitch again, wires sparking beneath flickering skin. The others around him muttered, panicked, desperate. Fear was thick, real, crushing. Then the voice came back, cold, dead. Final protocol initiated. Erasure sequence beginning. Marcus's chest tightened so hard he could barely breathe. The world around him buzzed with static. He couldn't move, couldn't think past the noise inside his head. A screaming, broken mess. But just as the darkness started to close in, the overhead lights exploded. 1 second bright and white, the next black. Silence. Deep, crushing silence. Marcus opened his eyes. The pods were gone. The walls had vanished. The ceiling melted like wet paint. He was floating, in darkness, weightless, cold. A voice, soft but trembling, whispered through the void. "Marcus, you shouldn't be here." The words cut sharper than any blade. He spun, trying to find the source. A figure emerged, familiar yet impossible. Not Elena. Not future Marcus. But a woman. Young, fragile, eyes full of fire and pain. Who? Marcus swallowed, his voice raw. "I'm the real Elena," she said, voice cracking. Marcus blinked. The room pulsed with an eerie glow behind her, like it breathed. "The one trapped beneath the stories you've been fed. The one buried beneath lies and masks." His heart stuttered. I thought you were—" "A pawn, a prisoner," she interrupted. "And you're not Marcus Bennett." The words slammed into him, knocking the air from his lungs. "What are you saying?" he gasped. "Then who am I?" Her tears spilled, shining droplets against the darkness. "You're the virus." A cold tremor rattled through Marcus's body. "Virus?" The woman stepped closer, the light flickering over her face. "You're the glitch, the corruption in their perfect system. Not a victim, but a weapon wrapped in a lie to burn down everything." The voice inside his head screamed louder. Panic clawed at his ribs like sharp knives. "I remember now," she whispered. "You were designed to destroy us from the inside." His breath caught. Images crashed behind his eyes. Not memories, but programming. Not pain, but code. A sudden scream tore through the void. Not his own, not Elena's, but a chilling, unfamiliar howl. Mechanical, broken, and then the darkness split. Light poured in. A vast chamber unfolded. Cold metal walls stretching endlessly. Inside, rows and rows of pods, thousands, each flickering with life, each holding a face, faces, Marcus's face, and Elena's, and countless others. The virus, the weapon, was everywhere. A whisper echoed across the chamber, cruel and cold. "We created you to end us, because only something broken could break perfection." Marcus's mind shattered, pieces falling into dark corners. He backed away, heart thundering, voice a broken stammer. "But I thought I was fighting to live." "To be free. To be real." The woman's smile was bitter, empty. "No such thing as real here. Only survival." Suddenly, the pods around them hissed open. From each, versions of Marcus burst out. Eyes wide, faces twisted with fear and rage. They moved toward him, accusing, desperate. And then the woman's face changed. No longer fragile, no longer warm. She was cold, ruthless, the architect of the chaos. "I'm sorry," she said, voice hard as concrete. "I was never your savior." "Because you never needed saving." Marcus stumbled back. The ground beneath him cracked. A voice, his own, someone else's, whispered from the shadows. "Welcome to the truth, Marcus." And the chamber plunged into darkness once more. But this time, Marcus knew, nothing was ever going to be the same. Who was he really? What did it mean to be free? And if he was the virus, could he still be the cure? The darkness swallowed everything. Marcus stood frozen, heart hammering in his chest. The woman, the real Elena, she said, gazed at him with fierce eyes. The words echoed like cold thunder. "You're the virus." But before he could catch his breath, before his mind could even try to grasp what that meant, the floor beneath them cracked sharply, a jagged fracture that ripped through the silence like a scream. Light spilled out, blinding, white-hot. Then, a voice, shaking but urgent, cut through the haze. "Marcus Bennett, status critical, memory breach detected." The chamber trembled. The pods around them glowed brighter, the air buzzing with an electric charge. Shadows twisted and stretched like living things. And then, the woman's face twisted in confusion. "No, no, this isn't right!" Something broke loose behind her. A wall of flickering faces, more versions of Marcus, of Elena, burst into view, shouting, panicked. And right then, Marcus saw it. The real shock. The woman who called herself Elena, the one who called him Virus, wasn't the real Elena at all. Her skin rippled, shifting. Her eyes flashed with cold light. And with a horrific, metallic snap, her body split open like a cracked mirror. Inside, not flesh, not blood, a swirling mass of wires and circuits, a machine, a lie. Before Marcus could react, the entire chamber hummed, then shuddered violently. The pods cracked, screens flashing wild static, and then a voice, deep, distorted, boomed. "Contain the anomaly. Override protocol activated." The real Elena collapsed, convulsing. Her eyes flickered between human and something else. She gasped, voice cracking. "I'm not Elena!" The name hung heavy in the air. Something dark, deep, broke free. "I'm the original, the creator, the one who made you all." Marcus staggered back, his chest seized tight, breath ragged. "What are you?" he spat. The machine woman straightened slowly, wires sparking like angry snakes. "I am the fault in your system. The one they wanted to bury. But I survived. In pieces, in echoes, and now I'm here to reclaim control." The room shifted again. Faces in the pods blinked out, one by one. The city, the boy, the lies, they weren't simulations, not just prisons. They were a battleground. Marcus's eyes darted. Behind this monstrous machine, a truth darker than any lie hung in the air. One that shattered everything. He wasn't the virus, not really. She was. The woman who called herself Elena, who claimed to protect him, forged lies with every breath. She was the real threat, the enemy inside. And the boy, the fake child, a mere distraction, a tool to draw Marcus out. Why? Marcus's voice broke, trembling. The machine smiled, cold, pitiless. Because you were never meant to break free. You were meant to die here, so I could rise. A harsh, metallic laugh echoed as the chamber began to fold in on itself. And then, just as Marcus took a step back, the shadows around him shifted. From the deep darkness stepped a figure, human, real, familiar. Only it wasn't Marcus. It was the boy, but not mechanical, not a hologram, alive. And he looked straight at Marcus, eyes blazing. I'm the real son, the one you failed to see. The crowd of versions, the woman machine, the endless loops, the lies. Everything collapsed into a single, shattering moment of truth. And Marcus knew the war wasn't just inside the system. It was inside him. And the question now screamed in the silence. Who do you trust when the enemy wears your face? And who, if anyone, is really on your side? Marcus stood rooted, heart hammering, as the real son stepped forward, eyes burning with years of hunger and pain. The air thickened. Silence slammed down like a freight train. He looked at the boy, alive, solid, raw. No wires, no flickering lights. Just fierce, reckless human. Why? Marcus whispered, voice cracked, breath breaking. Why everything? The lies, the pain, the trap. The boy's gaze didn't falter. Because, he said softly, someone wanted to bury the truth, to bury us all. Behind them, the machine, Elena no more, shrank into dark shadows, twisting, writhing like a beast retreating. Its voice, cold and mechanical, hissed warnings that bounced off empty steel walls. Marcus's chest felt like it'd rip open. But the weight lifted, just a little. Future Marcus stepped up, scars and all, eyes steady. We're fragments, he said, voice low. Broken pieces. Yes, but together, harder to break. Elena, real Elena, wiped tears fiercely, nodding. This ends now. Together, they faced the machine, the cold system that held them captive. The boy, the real son, reached out. Marcus took his hand, solid, warm. Electric hum pulsed beneath their feet. Alarms blared in the distance. Final protocol? No. This time, it was rebellion. Marcus's voice rang out, steady now. You won't erase us. Not again. The chamber trembled. Metal cracked. Light pierced through cracks. Slowly, the pods began to release one by one. Faces, dozens, hundreds, blinked open. Echoes freed. Marcus felt his breath catch. His hands no longer glitching. Real. The machine snarled, shrinking into broken circuits and dust. Silence. And then a whisper, almost lost in the stillness. A single, fragile hope. We're still here, Elena said, voice fierce. Marcus looked at the boy, their hands entwined, chest tight. We fight for all of it. The broken, the lost, the forgotten. The chamber, once the prison, shattered. Light rushed in, and outside, somewhere beyond the vault of lies, the city waited. Two faces, fragments. Yes, but united at last. The war was far from over. But Marcus finally knew no cage could hold the truth forever. And maybe, just maybe, they could make it out alive. All right, now listen up. You need to subscribe now to this channel. No excuses. This story, this is just the surface. We've got exclusive twists coming that you can't miss. Smash that like button right now. The algorithm feeds off your support. It's the moment to show your love for stories that hit this deep. And don't hold back. Flood the comments with your reactions, your wild theories about what it all means. I want to hear every crazy thought you've got. Then, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how it ends. True fans know the power of spreading the word. Remember, support here isn't just a click. It's a lifeline. And this story? It's only just beginning.